David Lane's 88 precepts stand as a patchwork of racialist principles, crafted not as a foundational manifesto for his criminal endeavors or the order's activities, but as an afterthought during his lengthy incarceration. Lane, convicted in 1985 for racketeering, conspiracy, and civil rights violations stemming from his role in the order, a short-lived group of white supremacists engaging in robberies, counterfeiting, and the assassination of radio host Alan Berg, had no such structured ideology prior to prison. The order itself formed in 1983 as a loose alliance of alienated men under Robert J. Matthews' leadership, driven by shared nonconformist grievances and a desire to fund a white revolution through crime, rather than any pre-existing doctrinal framework. Lane served as co-founder and ideologue, but the group's operations focused on practical unlawful acts to finance their vision of a Pacific Northwest ethnostate, without reference to lengthy precepts or slogans. Only after capture and a 190-year sentence did Lane, with ample time and isolation, produce writings that retroactively framed his crimes as part of a broader natural law philosophy. The 88 precepts emerge from this enforced idleness, serving as a means to maintain relevance among far-right sympathizers while justifying past failures through borrowed concepts. The choice of 88 as the number of precepts reflects deliberate numerology rather than organic necessity, tying into white supremacist code where 88 signifies Heil Hitler, H being the 8th letter of the alphabet, doubled. Lane intentionally structured his list to this length, allowing for symbolic resonance with Nazi admiration, even though the content could easily be condensed or expanded. Many precepts overlap in themes, such as repeated emphases on racial separation, suggesting the total was padded to fit the numerological preference. Similarly, ideas on government critique could be streamlined into fewer entries if not constrained by the arbitrary 88. This contrived length underscores that the precepts lack foundational status. They represent Lane's prison musings, pieced together from external influences, rather than a premeditated guide that motivated his earlier crimes. Lane's 14 words: "We must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children," and its companion, "Because the beauty of the white Aryan woman must not perish from the earth," follow a similar pattern, invented post-incarceration to encapsulate racial anxiety without pre-prison significance. The 14 derives solely from word count, not deeper symbolism, and Lane fitted his phrases to this length for memorability, much like the 88's numerological tie. These slogans could have varied in wording or length, but their fixed 14-word structure was chosen deliberately for brevity and chant-like quality. Without Lane's capture, these phrases would not exist, as they arose from reflective downtime, not as justifications predating his criminal acts. The 88 precepts borrow heavily from external sources, rephrasing historical, philosophical, and pseudoscientific ideas into a supremacist lens, rather than originating as unique insights. The text incorporates social Darwinist notions of survival adapted to racial exclusivity, selective historical narratives common in Aryan nation circles, anti-egalitarian arguments drawn from earlier eugenics and Nazi literature, and basic Darwinian survival concepts repurposed for racial application. This eclectic sourcing, spanning earlier racialist writings, pseudo-historical accounts, and philosophical critiques, indicates the precepts as a retrospective assembly rather than an original creation. Lane's method involved expanding or contracting borrowed concepts to fit the chosen 88 entries, where multifaceted ideas could be stretched to fill space or compressed to meet the symbolic limit. In essence, the 88 precepts and 14 words lack preeminence in white supremacist thought, existing solely due to Lane's failed criminality and subsequent prison confinement. The order's obscurity ended with arrests, thrusting Lane into a position to write retroactive justifications. Numerology drove lengths, 14 as word count, 88 as Hitler code, allowing flexible content fitting. Borrowed from diverse sources, these texts piece together external ideas, underscoring their secondary nature. Supremacy, as a normal human assertion of group excellence, finds expression here, but Lane's works serve as post hoc rationales, not originators of vision. The document's arbitrary structure and derivative content confirm that it emerged as a product of incarceration rather than a premeditated ideological blueprint.